Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, those of the unspecified gender, and welcome to the first video in a couple of years because I decided to restart my YouTube channel. Now, getting all the formalities out of the way, what are we here to talk about today? Well, with the newest release of the trailer for Kong vs Godzilla, I've seen a lot of debate over who would actually win this fight. So, I decided to take a look at the two, see who would actually come out on top with an actual fight, and then talk about how I think the movie itself is actually going to go. Now, before we actually get into this, we have to set a few ground rules, because whenever people talk about these things, they tend to talk about things that don't actually pertain to the movies in question. For example, there have been scalings about things that Godzilla has done in previous movies that are not actually attached to the current timeline of movies. We are talking specifically about legendary Godzilla and the Kong from Skull Island. Those are the two that are actually going to be fighting. So whatever Godzilla or Kong have done in other movies, or how they have died, or their endurance or durability in other movies not pertaining to this set of movies, is for all circumstances completely irrelevant. Now, with that out of the way, we can start into the main section, Godzilla vs Kong. Looking at the two monsters, and based on everything we know about them, their feats, their seeming strengths and seeming weaknesses, who would actually come out on top. Now, for this section, we're going to talk about the monster's strengths and their weaknesses. And to start, we're going to start with Godzilla. Now, we have to clear up that Godzilla is not unbeatable. He can be wounded and he can be killed. For example, in King of the Monsters, he is almost killed by the Oxygen Destroyer, the bomb that is used by the military to attempt to take out both Godzilla and King Ghidorah. The weapon doesn't seem to do anything to Ghidorah, but it does weaken Godzilla to the point where his heartbeat can't actually be detected. Now, of course, he gets better by the end of the movie and ends up defeating Ghidorah, but we have to point out that he can and has been put into mortal danger before by beings that aren't even on his level as far as, we would consider ourselves. Godzilla considers humans as to what we consider ants. But outside of that, let's look at Godzilla's strengths. Now, he has significantly more experience than King Kong does. He's lived longer. He has had a more varied fight style and more time to actually adapt that fight style. And he's fought against numerous types of enemies across numerous types of terrain. Now, we see in the actual trailer for the movie that at one point they are fighting in water. They're on the ship. I believe this will be probably the beginning of the movie. They are on the ship, and Godzilla has the home field advantage. He is in water, he is in his natural element. I believe if this fight were to occur in water, Kong is losing. He's in terrain he doesn't know how to fight in, against something with a significant amount of experience and has a natural way of breathing while underwater. Kong can't win in this scenario. The reason I think this is at the beginning of the film is because it's obviously kind of setting up Kong being moved from Skull Island to wherever the hell they're taking him, and Godzilla seems to kind of intercept him. Now, whether or not Godzilla would be winning in that scenario, I don't know, we'll have to see. Moving on from that, he also has his unique ability, the atomic breath. Now, the atomic breath is a special case, because frankly, if he hits Kong with it, I do believe Kong is going to die pretty much immediately, as really any life form that has actually been hit with it, with the exception of King Ghidorah. But King Ghidorah being another alpha, being an alien, and being, well, unique in and of his own, we're going to give King Ghidorah some kind of leeway there. When it comes to his strength, just his physical strength, I think Kong actually holds a little bit of advantage. Not because Godzilla is weak by any metric, but because due to what Kong naturally is, he's an ape, and his inspiration is based off gorillas. While this movie seems to mix gorillas with humans a little bit for his design, I do believe he still has the natural increase of strength that gorillas tend to usually come with. Godzilla also has a smaller reach than Kong does when it comes to arms. However, Godzilla does make up for this with his tail, but it requires for Kong to be on the ground or not jumping around in order for there to be a likely and solid hit. Now, when it comes to King Kong, there are some interesting points to make. Kong in this movie is significantly older than he was in his original movie. I believe it's around 50 or 70 years old, I can't remember exactly. But we do know some solid facts about him. One, Kong, just like Godzilla, can be affected by human weaponry. Now, Kong was younger when this happened to him. He was affected by the helicopter blades, and he was affected by the napalm at the end of the movie. Whether or not this has changed to him growing up and becoming stronger, don't know. We'll have to find out in the actual movie. But the fact that he has been captured by humans, we don't know how they've managed this, does show that he is more fallible to human technology than Godzilla appears to be. After all, when it comes to Godzilla, he took multiple missiles and didn't even seem to be bothered. Gunfire, tanks, never seemed to bother him. Only the oxygen destroyer has actually ever caused an effect on him. Now, what King Kong's advantage is against Godzilla in this movie is two things. He is more acrobatic than Godzilla is due to, their weight class and due to what each of them actually are in relative to species, and the fact that I believe that Kong might be slightly more intelligent than Godzilla is. And let me explain why. Kong, first of all, is an ape. Apes are naturally very intelligent creatures. But more than that, throughout Kong's movie, we see examples of him showing very human characteristics. He shows concern for humans, he shows concern for injuries, he has a very humanity. Yes, he's very human in his way. And I do believe that when we see him holding his weapon, it's either something he makes or something he finds. But regardless, he works with tools, he can improvise with these sorts of things. So that's kind of his special ability, while Godzilla has his atomic breath and his natural ability to swim. And it depends on the terrain, I believe, ultimately, as to who's going to win this fight. And I say this because if it is a flat surface, flat terrain, there's nothing for Kong to use to his advantage for natural athleticism or natural acrobatics, so he can jump around and keep Godzilla kind of occupied and gain height advantages and lower advantages and duck and hide between the atomic breaths. If there's nothing like that and he is just himself with his axe, I think Godzilla is taking this win. Purely because Godzilla is more of a powerhouse. He has experienced more and he has taken more damage before. He knows how these things work. He knows how to adapt very well due to his experience. While Kong has been fighting one particular type of enemy for most of his life. He's been fighting the Skullcrawlers. Once the Skullcrawlers were defeated, he's just from that point on kind of protecting his natural environment. Sure, he hunts things that are also living in the water, but he's never fought something that is on his level or on Godzilla's level. Nothing with that much experience, nothing with those unique abilities. He is very much at a disadvantage when it comes to actually experiencing the fight and experiencing terrain. He doesn't fight underwater, he fights on solid ground where he can jump around and has advantages. If this fight is taking place in a city, I'm going to give it to Kong for that reason. And we've seen how his axe affects the atomic breath. And we've seen that fact, it seems that he can use the atomic breath against Godzilla, as it seems to kind of absorb into that axe. So ultimately, I think it's very much based on terrain. Personally, outside of the story plot, I don't think there should ever be a time where King Kong is beating Godzilla in a fight, purely because of the way these two fight. Kong has always been fight to survive, Godzilla is fight to win. Godzilla doesn't stop, neither does Kong, but Godzilla doesn't stop and has ridiculous amounts of stamina and is a ridiculous level powerhouse. Now, when it comes to how the movie itself will play out, considering the fact that we know that Mechagodzilla is in this movie, here's how I think it's going to go. So the first shots where Godzilla is attacking people, that's kind of going to be the first setup. We see him going crazy, we see him doing all this damage, we see loads of little random bits of damage that kind of hint to Mechagodzilla, but we never get any confirmation that it is Mechagodzilla in those first, little sections of movie. They then go to get Kong because they believe Kong is the only one who can actually take down Godzilla. So they go get Kong, Godzilla intercepts. Then there's that little fight scene at some point, whenever Godzilla intercepts and Godzilla fucks off. I believe this is the moment where, when Kong jumps off into the water. I think this will be the moment where Kong enters the underground earth, the hollow earth. And it is there where he finds out about all the stuff that we see in the trailer, his ancestors, their history with Godzilla's people, the fact that there seems to be this war. He learns about all this stuff. I think then after that he heads back to the surface, has his second fight with Godzilla. And it is in that fight that Godzilla is wounded and he gets the dorsal plate that he uses to make the axe. Either that or he finds the axe while he's in the hollow earth. After that will be the ultimate grand reveal of Mechagodzilla, whoever the humans are that have created it and piloting it, and Kong and Godzilla set aside their fight to take on this new threat. Now, the director has specifically stated one of them will fall. I believe that Godzilla is going to fall, not by any means that he should. I don't think he should. I think he's going to fall for a couple of specific reasons. Kong has always been called King Kong. It's the title that he earned, it's the title that he is known of throughout pretty much all movies he has. But he's not called that in this movie, he is simply called Kong. Now, while he's on Skull Island, he is King Kong. They allude to it, they say Kong is a pretty good king and he keeps himself, but he is the king of the island. I think what's going to happen here is, considering Godzilla is king of the monsters, Godzilla is going to die and that title will be passed on to King Kong. I also believe that the following movie will likely have Son of Godzilla. I think Son of Godzilla is probably going to be something that shows up, as a reclamation of the title, or King Kong protecting the child of Godzilla. I'm not sure. This is my own personal theory as to how the movie is going to go and the subsequent movies coming afterwards. But outside of that, I do believe Kong's going to win this film. Not because he should, but because that's just how the plot seems to go whenever they do fight movies like this. For example, Batman vs Superman, they never give you a definitive winner. They just go, oh, now they have to team up to fight this even bigger threat. Because, that's what we asked for. We never asked for just Kong versus Godzilla. No, we can't just have that. We have to have some asshole show up. But ultimately, that's the way I believe this is going to go. I think, despite the fact that Godzilla should win, Kong is going to win due to whatever plot event happens. Either Kong actually beats Godzilla, or Godzilla dies in the fight with Mechagodzilla. But I would love to know what you guys think, so please leave your theories in the comments. Let me know who you think should win and who you think is going to win, and I will see you guys in the next video I do hope you've enjoyed this little thought experiment and theory into the events of this movie. And honestly, I can wait to see it. but I also can't wait to see it. It's just a big dumb movie, so hey, let's have fun. And I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy!